Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Brian John Live. I'm not sick. I just have, just night voice, and I'm here to answer any questions, as always. For those of you new that's joining for the first time, I typically just go through the questions on the side and answer as necessary. But for those of you joining from the last 5 weeks, I am happy to talk on anything. Ishan Gupta, what's up, Brian? What's going on, my dude? Nothing much, just living life. Work has been quite busy recently. I've been really ramping up. It's fun. There's a lot going on. I've been trying to get into fitness and eating well recently, but such is life. I hope everyone's doing well. Everyone feel free to share how you're doing in the chat. Shri? Hey, Brian, hey, how's it going? What did it do when contract says they'll pass on contact info of someone on their team but doesn't after 2 follow-ups? Is there going to reach out to others on the team themselves? Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I would definitely follow up. I think especially when they said that they're going to do that, but they don't. I would not consider that annoying, and I think it's one of those things. If you knock, they shall answer. I think constant updates with no promises is annoying, but if they said like, yo, like hit me up when if they said they're gonna pass, if they made you a promise, I would definitely ask for it. Yeah. Zshawn asks, how's your week been, Brian? It's Wednesday already, Thursday tomorrow. It's been kind of all over the place. I think I had a pretty adventurous May. I had friends coming down in Irvine. I went a couple weeks in Chicago. I went to work in North Carolina, as some of you guys know. I had friends visit me in Chicago. So I'm kind of chilling and relaxing for a bit. I am planning to go to New York next week. So this week is more of a chill. Let's spend some time in Chicago working out and working on myself kind of week. Thanks for the great videos. I've been waiting for this live all week. Oh, wow. I really appreciate that. These aren't very special, but I think it's this. If anything, these lives are kind of what gets me through the week. The reason why I put them on Wednesday is because I need human interaction to a certain degree. And obviously, I'm not seeing you guys face to face, but I think these live streams offer a lot. I remember I was addicted to Clubhouse for quite a bit because I enjoyed the whole aspect of speaking and interacting with strangers, in the sense that, I mean, you guys aren't strangers because you guys have been following me, but I love doing these live streams. I wish I could do this every day if I had time and my voice allowed me to. Evan asks, just started as a summer analyst at a BB this week. Thanks for helping secure the. Oh no, I guess he's not asking. He's thinking. No, I didn't do anything. I mean, that's all you. Whenever people thank me for getting an offer or something, I always say like, that's you guys doing the work. I don't think my expertise in anything led to anything. I think you guys should credit yourselves, and especially nowadays, it's very hard to do anything and get any job. So, great job, Evan. How's this essay going, Evan? Oh, Chris is asking you, Evan. Also, how feasible is a girlfriend while working the typical front office BB hours? I never had a bulge bracket job, but I did banking for a year and a half. I was single throughout the year and a half. I've seen people do it. There's people that are married that are associates. I know one person that's married that's a first year analyst. But I guess keeping up a relationship is different from then keeping up a marriage. Maybe for work from home, it's easier. You can go see your girlfriend every now and then. Perhaps they're also working from home, and you can do like working together while being on Zoom together or while being on FaceTime. Relationships are the effort that both parties put in, and I think that's what defines it. And people that have all the time in the world fail at relationships, and people who have no time do great in relationships. I think it just happens to come out of people's priorities and how much they prioritize the relationship versus everything else. And I don't think blaming circumstances necessarily does anything. Not that I've had perfect relationships, but I think you could do it with a full-time bulge bracket job. No problem. Good, Chris. Thanks for asking. A little inner chat interaction. I don't want to butcher your name, but Mataltasi asks, is that a new haircut? No, if anything, I haven't gotten a haircut yet in a while. I haven't gotten a haircut in over a month. This is just me being lazy and not drying it properly, I think. I go through like these phases of like looking kind of douchey to like looking calm and reserved to I really need a haircut. I think I'm slowly approaching that I really need a haircut phase. I never put product in my hair, which is also an issue, but I'm a lazy person. I don't really do much about my outward aesthetics, as some of you guys know. I don't really take care of my skin. I don't put on hair care products. I don't really dress very well, to the criticism of many of my friends, especially female friends. How did you connect with your colleagues while working from home? Um, I have pretty like so at my new job. So at my old job in banking, I knew them in person, but at my new job that I only know from in virtually, I have pretty social coworkers at my new job that reach out. We like randomly FaceTime and do like collaborative work sessions, aka just turn the FaceTime on while working together. I met some of them while I was in LA, and one of them didn't visit me, but was in Chicago and just happened to hit me up. We have like regular one-on-one calls. They all are pretty like social. Tech, especially on the ops and product side, I think has pretty social people that you can interact with through Slack or Zoom, regardless of being in person. And I'm sure the built up energy of everyone wanting to meet each other is only going to help the case when we all go back to work, hopefully. Best places to visit in Chicago. Why you love Chicago? Great, great question. Okay, number one reason I love Chicago is it's clean. It's very accessible. Downtown is laid out beautifully in a grid perspective. I don't know if you guys know, but because of the Chicago fire that happened like 100 years ago, this entire city burned down and they rebuilt the city basically from scratch, unlike New York, San Francisco, and like Boston, which are cities that are built as incremental additions. Chicago was built with a plan. So, unlike those cities where there's all these random streets and corners, Chicago is almost like a perfect grid, and there's like a system to it. So it's very easy to access places. Food is phenomenal here. I would say best places to visit besides the touristy spots. I'm a big fan of the West Loop restaurant places like Au Cheval and Monteverde and Girl and the Goat, Duck Duck Goat, High Five Ramen, Green Street Meats. All those places are very hot places to go in Chicago. I would say Hubbard Street is where all the nightlife is. Bounce Sporting Club is fun. Point and Feathers I've been a couple times. Great place to be. Soundbar closed right now is pretty fun. Prism, kind of ratchet, but also fun. Great mix of nightlife. And then Chicago overall is not very expensive when compared to other big cities. So bottom line, Chicago is very fun as a young professional, relatively affordable, and a lot of good food. How close were you with your previous coworkers in IB? I would say pretty close. We had pretty like small firm culture. Our first year analyst class was very, very tight. We had a great internship together, great full-time experience. I think as we got busier and more skewed into our industry groups, we became a little more separate, but we still get meals every now and then. We had happy hours. I was pretty close with my associates. We'd be on a texting basis. Some of my MDs, we talked every day, even if it wasn't for work. I would say I was pretty tight with my banker friends, and I still talk to some of them to this day, actually. And I would consider them my genuine friends. How many firms did you apply when you graduated? I didn't know. I applied to 0 firms when I graduated. What are your thoughts of asset management's PM, so private management, or are you talking about product manager versus IB M&A? I'm always a big proponent of IB M&A just because that's what I did, and I think I benefited a lot from it. It's a great first job out of college. I'm not really sure what you mean by PM, but asset management is a pretty salesy, relatively niche industry to go into, and it's not necessarily like the strongest start to a career, in my opinion. If you want to go broader, if your end goal is to be like asset manager, MD at the top, or partner, whatever they call it, sure. But I think if you're trying to take a broader approach and trying to jump to tech or a strategy ops perspective, I think IB, M&A, any form of IB is your best bet for sure. Do you use ant dating apps? I assume you meant any dating apps. I don't know if there's dating apps specifically for ants. I hope not. I've been on them before. I think I still have a profile, maybe, but I'm a romantic, romanticist. I kind of I believe in fate and no coincidences. So I don't know how I feel about curating a app to decide who you're meeting. Fun fact: my video this coming this Saturday is about dating in 2021, and one of the biggest topics is dating apps and how I think dating apps are in a way ruining dating in 2021. Am I hypocritically partaking? I think I definitely partook before, and I've had pretty fun dates off of them. But overall, in terms of like romance and my perception of romance personally, I think it's a negative. And I have a video coming out on that on Saturday. Did you have any mentors during college or IB? How did you find a mentor? Any tips? Great question, Joseph. Yeah, I had many mentors during college. I would say many of them did not fall in finance. Many of them weren't about banking, but a lot of them were professors. A lot of them were older guys in my fraternity, guys that I met through clubs and organizations during college. I'm very big on mentorship, both ways. I love mentoring people and I love having mentors. I just kept in touch with them, shot them a text every now and then. That actually reminds me, I haven't reached out to my mentors in a while, but I would say I had one mentor that was like more career focused. I had a mentor who's like a life mentor, one that gave me more like religious Christian advice, one that had gave me relationship advice. I think it's important to have different mentors and different perspectives that you can learn from, and bounce off of from, and then make sure to give back. Like you should serve as a mentor to others when you can. I think that's very important. I think this world is built upon mentorship in a sense that we always pass on what we're given. And at the end of the day, people are based on personal expertise. And no matter how good of a financial modeler you are, no matter how much of a software engineer you are in terms of coding, the best skills to pass down on are human skills. How much of your finance background overlapped with your current tech startup? Um, Finance background as in banking background, I'd say like my ability to run processes and work hard and not give up when I hit a wall, 100%. In terms of my financial acumen, zero. Advice on networking, recruiting at other banks during your SIB summer internship. We'll have the opportunity to receive full-time offer, but want to keep offers open. Jude, frankly, I'm very against like scheming in that way. I think it's important to have options open, especially maybe if your current summer analyst position sucks. But I would try to not divert your attention into recruiting other firms and to give your best at what you're given now, and then use that later as a building block to recruit. Um, Obviously, if your perception is the other way, don't get caught doing it. And make sure to give your full time best job at your current job because that's what really matters. And it's important to keep your doors open, but also work at the door that is currently open. Ever went through a period of making tons of mistakes? If so, how'd your supervisors respond? I'm talking about, I assume you're talking about banking. Yeah, especially in the beginning, I made very careless mistakes, and I have a pretty big ego, big confidence interval. And I think there were things that I didn't really understand why that mattered, like to things like spacing between paragraphs and getting little typos and making sure that's a thing. But it's more about the mentality. I don't think it's about context a lot in banking. It's not about getting that specific thing wrong. It's more about what are you thinking about when you're doing this and how exact, how client oriented can you get? And that's something that you really learn in banking. I realized through this tech startup that a lot of times like perfection is not what you strive for. It's always about minimum viable product, MVP, where you can give off to your supervisor as long as it's kind of baked. But in banking, you learn to make sure that everything is the most you can do on your end and then give it up, which I think in a way limits you sometimes, especially in an innovative industry like tech because you're so obsessed with getting it perfect. But yes, long story short, I don't know how I got off on a tangent. There were a pretty long period of time in the beginning, first 6 months, where I was making stupid mistakes that definitely could have been prevented by double checking. Which university did you graduate from? The one up there. Currently in an AM internship at an MM bank. Advice to pivot to an IB M&A role. Hopefully your current firm has some front office opportunities that you can lateral to. Maybe there's an intercompany application site. Maybe they give priorities to those that are jumping within. I would network with people currently in IBMA in that section And if it doesn't exist, then continue to network outside and try to spin your asset management, finance expertise, client advisory practices towards that direction. But I, this is something that I repeatedly say, and hopefully I'm not wrong on this, but I actually don't know anyone personally that have jumped from asset management to banking. I just don't think the skill sets are as transferable, but I'm sure it's possible. Hi, Brian. What's going on, Utkarsh? Is it possible that it's too late for me to break into banking as a junior at a non-target? Statistically speaking, Devin, probably, if you don't have a summer internship lined up. But I mean, anything's possible. But I would say nowadays, if you don't secure a post-summer junior internship, especially at a non-target, it's probably hard to jump. Some of your favorite Excel PowerPoint shortcuts. Kevin asking the right questions. On Excel, I like Alt HOI. So if you're in a cell, I can't believe I know this off the top of my head, but if you're on a cell, Alt HOI, it makes the column narrow down or adjust to the cell that you're in's with. And then Alt HDD, I think that deletes the column or the row that you're selecting. In PowerPoint, I wouldn't say it's a shortcut, but on the ribbon, I always put aligned on there. It just made things easier. And then we have like a plugin that our third party made, and Alt MSWP switched the two figures that you selected if you needed to switch to like pictures or two text boxes. I can't believe I knew the answers to that question. How did you get an internship freshman year of college? Like if you don't have much experience or built up, Joe. I worked for a local company that I just had connections to. It wasn't anywhere related to banking or finance. I didn't even know what banking was freshman year. It was like an e-commerce marketing gig. For your tech startup, are you expected to have a background in coding, even though you come from IB? Nope. There was zero expectation of coding. I'm doing a bit of like statistical analysis and some level of like Python, but that's also, I studied coding a little bit in college, but they never expected a coding background. Many tech jobs don't require coding unless you're a software engineer. Jen says, hey, Brian, hey, what do you think I should include in my personal statement if I'm applying to get an ESG analyst role with no background in ESG? By ESG, do you mean like environment and that stuff, social governance? I've never had to write a personal statement for jobs before, but perhaps, hopefully, you have some level of ESG background and why you care about the environment. I wouldn't lie about it though, if that's not your cup of tea, but I would assume you're applying for it because you care about it. Finding it hard to keep in contact with supervisor with work from home. Worried about not getting enough work and showing off my skills. That is everyone's concern right now, Jude. Like with work from home, you can't even show that you're doing work unless you constantly bother them and they don't want to be bothered. Many times they're offline. I kind of do this thing where I check in very regularly and give them like a three a day update, a morning update, a midday update, and an end of the day update about what I've done the day before, what I'm working on, and then what I'm going to do today, and then show them work products. I think like at the end of the day, side on the side of being annoying because I think supervisors like the fact that you're working, and a big part of corporate life is perception, even more so than you actually working. Obviously, hopefully you're doing actual work, but at the end of the day, no one's going to know the tree fell if you weren't there to hear the tree fall. So you better show that you're working. I would just annoy them as much as possible, do one-on-ones 3 times a week, and catch them up on what you've been working on and show that what you're working on is actually implementable. For those of you joining, I am answering questions and just talking out of my butt as usual. I'm trying to focus on relationships and careers today because I am releasing a video on dating in 2021 on Saturday, but happy to answer any questions as usual. I actually like the diversity of questions today. It doesn't seem like it's overly finance oriented, but happy to answer any questions. Chill session today. If you guys have any dying questions and need to jump to the top for whatever reason, do the super chat thingy bob. But I'm answering every single question with no bias or discrimination. So keep on asking. Hi, Brian. I'm thinking of joining a frat in college. How did you go about choosing a good frat? I know that there's a stigma around frats. I think at the end of the day, joining a frat is good in corporate culture. And I've never had the stigma around frats stop me. I've only been enabled by being part of a fraternity. Granted, my school is the highest proportion fraternity school in America. We're 80-something% fraternity. Maybe it's lower, but our Greek life participation is through the charts. So It was very normalized at my school, and it wasn't like hard to join a fraternity. I found a group of guys that I liked and went from there. I think joining a fraternity was probably one of the best decisions I made during college. I would highly advise for it, especially if you can find a good group of guys that aren't um, forcing you to chug beer every day. What podcast do you listen to, Julian? Great question. The only podcast I religiously listen to is this, like, Founders, How Did You Start NPR podcast that interviews like founder stories. There's one on like Riot Games. Of course, I'm blanking, and now that you put me on the spot, but I don't really like subscribe to anything specifically. My friends and people just send me podcasts. If you have any good podcast recommendations, please do. I'm actually planning on starting a podcast this summer, so stick around for that. Hey, Brian, I've graduated from uni in England and I have recently completed the Korean military service. Congratulations. Now trying to break into banking and tech in the US. Do you have any tips on how to get started? Ooh, that might be a little hard, but maybe they take like army experience well. I had one veteran that I knew. I don't know if Korean military service counts as veteranship. Maybe with all that like work experience and the 2 years in the army, perhaps aim for an MBA, maybe get a CFA to get yourself out there. Thanks, Brian. Oh, you're welcome, Jen. The Unspoken Rules. Do you read this, Brian? RJK. I don't know what the Unspoken Rules are. Is that a book? I would be happy to read it if it's a good book. Harry asks, really, how transferable is valuation analyst experience at Big Four to IB? I think it's relatively transferable. You're doing a lot of valuations work anyways. You can get into the valuations team at IB. I think people don't realize that IB is a pretty big umbrella. It's not just M&A and it's not just finance, or it is finance, but there's like valuations and ECM and DCM and M&A and different forms. And I think Big Four valuations definitely has transferable. I know people that have transferred from Big Four M&A. Thanks. You're the man. I am the man. I am not the man. I am just a boy. When bankers transfer to tech, do they usually go into corp dev or product management? Probably corp dev. Will it be better to get an MBA to make the switch? If you can do it without getting an MBA, why not? But if you're trying to go for a more product or program based role, I heard MBA routes are better. Unless you're going to like a startup and you can take in more responsibilities. Favorite golf course you've played? What a question. There was one in Winchester, Virginia that I really liked that I played with my two college buddies. I'm obviously forgetting the name, but it wasn't like luxurious or anything, but it was fun and it was very, very empty. Baruch, a good school for finance. I've never heard of it, Joe. Do you know anything about the internship scene for finance in DC? There are a couple like smaller firms, smaller banks that I have friends at. There are a good number of PE firms in DC. It's obviously not a finance hub by any means. It's not like any hub by any means, but it's like a more of a smaller firm or post banking buy side experience. Location. Is it easy to switch areas in a bank? I've got an internship in a front office and I'm not sure on and would prefer to move to M&A. I've seen people do it, but if you got the role in something else, I'm sure they hired you for that role on purpose, and the demand for highly demanded positions like M&A is high, so you have to compete, but they probably would much rather hire someone that they know to M&A. I will say the two cases that I know at my previous bank that wanted to transfer from a valuations role to M&A did not do well. And I think there's a higher bar than you'd think transferring within office. Did you ever considered management consulting? I never considered management consulting. What are your thoughts on it? I think it's great. I think it's more broad than banking, much more transferable skills if you're trying to jump to things outside of banking. It's somewhat not as intense. Back in the day, you traveled a lot. And there's the case study interview or the case interview that makes it a little harder, in my opinion. If you could start and go into a different field or restart, starting in college again, what field would you enter? Do I have the knowledge that I have now and I go back? Because if I were the same person, I'd probably go back into banking again. I want to do something really weird. Like I want to be a cook or like an art curator or like a historian. Yeah, in some ways, I kind of regret going directly into a corporate role and feeling super adulty. Like maybe I would have gone into like religious studies or something more exploratory. If you could, opinion on relationship loyalty, your network can become very close with a mentor who helps you land an internship. Wanting to leave and grow career, staying and remaining loyal. I think it's important to do what you need to do at the end of the day, and everyone understands. And I think the reality is, people care about you as uh, people care a lot less about you than you think. The world does not revolve around us. I think we typically think that because we are the protagonists of our own story, but no one is thinking about you the same way as no one is thinking about me. And I think people will understand, especially a career choice. The thing that I tell people always is when people are contemplating leaving a job, most jobs in America are at will. They could fire you at any time. You could leave at any time. I think you just got to do the things that make sense the most for you. But if you're like a serial job hopper, it probably looks bad on your resume. Who you got winning NBA? These are the important questions that I want to answer. Oof, I know Lakers are out. Um, I have not closely followed the NBA recently. I personally am no anyone's fan. Hot take: I don't really like LeBron. I think LeBron's the GOAT, but I don't like LeBron personally. I know the Lakers are out. My cop out answer would be the Nets. I hope they're still in. But is Minneapolis a good city for finance? Maybe for like finance, like maybe for buy side opportunities, but I don't know any bankers in Minneapolis. Is Stern a good school for IB? Yep. Um, it is. It's definitely a target school. It's very important. Um, but looked at the disappointing rankings for NYU. Yeah, NYU itself is, not, and I'm going to upset a lot of people, but NYU itself is not like a top school. It's a name brand. Everyone knows NYU. It's in New York City, but it's awfully expensive. But Stern is definitely an MBA or a target school. I think it's funny that there's hype around Stern when I think, or NYU, when NYU itself is not like a highly ranked school, to your point. Advice from moving to a well-known bank super regional to a BB. I've never personally done the move. I don't know many people that have done it. I would stick to networking and making sure that you gain the most out you can from the role, and you promote yourself as a great analyst so that the BB looks at you well. Please share some stories about the most brilliant people you met. Kevin, I like this question a lot. The most brilliant people I met. Okay. On an objective standpoint, one of the most qualified, brilliant people I ever met was Richard Taylor, who was the Nobel Prize winner of economics a couple of years back. I met him at some charity event. We weren't having any like academic discussions, but it was a great time. It wasn't like a one-on-one. It was like a group event. And he was there talking. He answered a question of mine. We were talking about the whole like disciplinary test where you give a kid a marshmallow and you tell him to wait. And then if the kid waits long enough, you give him two marshmallows. And I asked him, what if the kid doesn't like marshmallows? Because I don't like marshmallows. And he thought it was funny. Other brilliant people in my life, friend named Hank at my college. He said no to Harvard to come to my school for a full ride. Definitely one of the smartest people I know. I think he had a 4.0. He's in med school now. Just a different wavelength of thinking. Thinks very differently, very sharp. I would say he's a genius. Let me think of a third example of someone that's brilliant in my life that I've met. I'll come back to it. I think other people will definitely come to my mind. Kevin, great question. Keep coming with these fun questions. Hamza says, "Hey Brian, starting full time somewhere in New York. Great. I feel like I lost a lot of social skills. What tips do you have me for adjust to lifestyle and office friendships?" Hamza, I think social skills are kind of like riding a bike. You haven't ridden a bike in a while, and you think you've lost it, but once you start going at it, it'll come back. I think a lot of people feel this way through COVID. They're like, "Oh shoot, my social skills are gone. What am I going to do?" I don't think social skills go away. They go into slight sleep, like hibernation, but they'll come back. If you had poor social skills to begin with, I don't think it grew through COVID. But I would assume it'll come back as you interact with people. New York is full of people. I'm going to New York next week for a weekend, and I'm sure you'll have a great time. Devin Booker or Donovan Mitchell? Who's better? How bad is it that I don't know either person? Don't crucify me. I don't know who Devin Booker or Donovan Mitchell is. Are they NBA players? Nets are up 2-0 against Bucks right now. Definitely look like they're going to win. Let's go. I don't know NBA very well, but some of my friends are cheering for the Nets, so that's me. What source would you recommend read to keep up to date with the market? Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Reddit. Thoughts on MBA associate? It's a hard path. You know, you need like 4 to 6 years of work experience plus the MBA, which is like 300 grand down the toilet. And then you go in as a 30-year-old into a very high intensity industry, and it's very hard from the start. But it's a path that people take, and you're making good cash, and you'll pay back your MBA within a couple of years. I would do it if you're really diehard about banking and you have a family to support. Why are you so pompous? Nicholas asks, why are you so pompous? I think I'm just like really revealing myself today, but I don't know. Effectively, solemn, self-important, pompous. Does that mean I'm arrogant? I have big self-pride. I love myself. What do people that you know who have really high GPA do differently than other folks in terms of studying? I would say grit. They just keep going. And they don't stop until they've hit the point where they know that for a fact that that's going to get them an A. Great GPAs are all about grit. It's not about brilliance. It's not about being extra smart. It's people that wear and tear their notebooks 5,000 times, rewrite the same thing over and over and over again until they get it, which in itself is a talent. What does your shirt say? It says University of California, San Diego. It's one of my workout shirts. How was your summer internship experience at your bank? It was great. I actually miss it a lot. It's kind of like a summer camp, but you get paid for it, and it kind of sucks because you're working a lot, but you have analyst class, and it's super fun. I know that in-person COVID summer internship sucks, but in-person banking is actually kind of fun. Do you have any tips on social skills? How are you so outgoing? Well, number one, you guys don't know for a fact that I'm outgoing because you guys have only seen me through a camera. So maybe I'm super shy in person, but I think 99% of most things in life are genetically engineered. Like, I don't think people are social by nature. But to your point, I think it definitely can be trained to a certain degree. I think understanding that people don't really care about you, people don't care about who you are, people don't care about your outward appearance, people don't care how you talk. The moment you recognize to yourself that you're no longer the center of attention, you can make yourself the center of attention with no discomfort. I think I'm outgoing because of that. Like, I really don't care. And I do this thing where, like, if I go out and people are staring at me weird for whatever reason, or like giving me a look, I just stare right back at them and ask them, like, can I help you? I think it's just completely losing self-awareness that allows you to be social. Opinions on sleeping with colleagues in the the office? Jesus, I would not recommend that. Thoughts on finance philosophy double major? Oh, I think it's a great idea. Nick Kokonis, who's the founder of Alinea, alongside the chef, was a philosophy major, and he was the founder of a very successful derivatives firm, and now the founder of quite possibly the best restaurant in the United States, a 3 Michelin star Alinea. Philosophy, hell yeah. How to write an equity research report, a representation on a industry you're studying for fun. Teddy, number one, I've never written a equity research report. Number two, I would never do that for fun. Very random. What is your opinion on microdosing and the rising popularity of psychedelics among tech professionals in Silicon Valley? No opinion because I've never heard of that. Sorry, guys. I am not as knowledgeable as you guys think. UCSD, the beach university. Actually, UCSB is the beach university, and I think the only school in America that owns a private beach. But UC San Diego also has beaches. La Jolla is right next to it, and it's a beautiful, beautiful campus. It's literally top school or buat. I don't know what that means, Nicholas, if you want to clarify. Martin Gale says Lamau. I don't know what you said Lamau on. I wish this chat was much more live. Martin, tell me what you laughed at so I can laugh with you. What's your IB answer? Wow, I haven't answered that in so long, Teddy. I just frankly don't remember. I think I talked about how, like, I wanted to learn about how to financially engineer businesses, and I like the idea of helping businesses grow. I had no problem working long hours because the summer before I worked 8 to 5 at an internship, and then I worked 6 to 10 or sometimes 6 to 11 at a server job. So I worked 15, 16 hours a day, many days. So I talked about the juxtaposition of wanting to learn about financial engineering and business acumen with the fact that I loved working long. What's your bench press, Michael Rankin? Jesus, I am not very strong. I am not very built. My bench press probably like max, like 55 on each side, maybe at most. Not very strong. Any school in New York City to be a good idea for finance? I guess Stern, Columbia, definitely. What other schools are in New York? I don't know many schools in New York. How's LA for IB? Definitely not the hub, but there are a fair number of shops. Like Julian Loki is based out of LA, I believe. I'm moving back to LA in the fall, so I'm hyped for LA. LA is a great city. I think the city itself might not be the best, but guys, let's be honest here. Southern California, best area in the United States, hands down. I'm willing to fight people for it. If you disagree, let me know. But Southern California definitely is the greatest part of the United States, if not the world. Nicholas, bust. Bust. Are we talking about my life? Bust. Everyone's saying bust. What are we talking about? West Coast banking versus Chicago. Chicago is definitely a bigger finance hub than the West Coast. I would say San Francisco is kind of booming with tech banking and venture capital. But at the end of the day, the Board of Trade is here. Many middle market firms are based out of here. A lot of private equity shops are here. Finance is much stronger in Chicago than the West Coast for sure. Advice for any fresh college graduates who are still looking for a job in IB. I think it's very hard for graduates that have already gone through college to get IB roles unless they're going to go through the MBA route. That's just the hard truth. Most banks hire directly from summer internships or from other banks. So I would say, unfortunately, and I don't want to go too deep because I just don't know, but there's not many, if any, none that I know of people that graduated college with no banking experience that go into banking without an MBA. Is top school or bust? Nicholas said Lemao. I think I'm just dumb. I don't understand what that means. Any book idea, finance, or just for fun? So right now I'm reading this. I'm almost done. Thinking Faster and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. I would read Ready Player One. I freaking love that book. I read that book in one sitting. I read Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson a lot. Those are probably my top 3 books right now. Why did you decide to go to startup instead of PE? I think LA was a big point. I didn't really like finance, and I wanted to learn how to build a business as opposed to financially engineer numbers to skew accounting. Moving to Asia after COVID, lol. Is that a question or is that what you were planning to do, Michael? I would love to visit Asia after COVID, whatever that means. I think COVID is done. Like people are just like out and about and realizing that this whole thing was kind of blown out of proportion. And also vaccines are out. What's been your biggest surprise going through your career? I think it's the thing that I keep saying. It's that people really don't care that much about you. I think when you're home, your family loves you. When you're with friends, people care about you. When you're at school, people care about you because you're paying. That's a service. Like professors better care about you. But when you're at work, like you're getting paid, people are too busy doing their own thing. And you are constantly in this mindset that people are thinking about you, what you're working on. People don't care. Unless their responsibilities are directly tied to what you're working on, they don't care. They could give less of a poop about what you're doing. Has your coffee consumption decreased from moving from IB to tech? Kevin, fun fact, I don't drink coffee. I did not drink a sip of coffee during banking. Maybe I'm the first analyst in American history to never do it, but I don't drink coffee. Bananas or pineapples on pizza? Bananas on pizza. I love pineapples on pizza. I don't know why you would put bananas on pizza. What's your ultimate goal? JMAD0113. What is your ultimate goal? I would really like to be a missionary somewhere. I don't know if that's an ultimate goal. My ultimate goal, like if there was an ideal that I could live up to, is have enough of a financial independence, mental ease, and social community so that I can host huge parties every single weekend with numerous people every single Saturday in perpetuity. Hong Kong or New York City for IB? New York City. Finance is in New York City. What's your day-to-day work at the startup? Every day is so different. I know that's such a cop-out answer, but it's so different. How much exposure did you have as an analyst to clients? A A lot. In middle market M&A, like you're the only analyst, and a lot of times you're directly calling CFOs and CEOs of companies, and you're directly interacting with associates and sometimes VPs at private equity firms. And they would add me on LinkedIn just to like get on the gets out of banks and vice versa. I wouldn't say I like, kept up with them because I wasn't particularly interested in PE, but you interact with them a lot. Do you mostly eat out or do you cook? I mostly cook, and by cook I mean like shove tablespoons of peanut butter and boiled egg in my mouth. But I've been cooking a lot recently. I just like the fact that I can control how much I'm eating. How many hours are you working right now? I'd say anywhere from like 8 to 12 a day. Um, but like unlike banking where I'm like waiting around for comments nowadays, like I'm working straight for those hours because we're more project based. Would you say the long hours impacted your mental, physical health badly? Did you cope? Yeah, I got fat. I ate a lot of late night food. Um, Mental health, I got anxiety a lot. I still have anxiety overdue from that. I wake up almost every day still with anxiety. I'll very come clean with that. I go to bed with anxiety, and I think that's long lasting impacts of thinking like feeling like there's always something to do. I also have big trouble with wasting time. Whenever I have any free time, I feel like I have to use it properly because during banking, free time was so rare. I'm not trying to make this into a pity session, but lasting impacts of mental health from banking is rough. How do you know God exists? How do you have faith? Ooh, Teddy, great question. I'm born into the faith, so I guess it could be a cop-out answer, but I've also struggled with faith a lot. I guess the dumb answer that most atheists would be like, yeah, of course you'd say that. It would be, I just know. And it's through faith. Like faith literally means believing without knowing. But happy to discuss further if need be. I think I'm working on a video that talks about my faith. My website, brianjun.com, I have a lot of blog posts that talk about my faith a lot. If you want to go check that out. Have you ever witnessed any bullying in the corporate world? Not in my understanding. Kind of. I've seen like some MDs be a little rough, but I think it's more because they want the best for the team and they want to push the deal forward. I wouldn't call it bullying. Like, I don't know. I think HR stuff is pretty sensitive nowadays in 2021, and you can just go on LinkedIn and say like, this person is screwing me over, and their career will be canceled regardless of the reality. So, I think there's less bullying. I hope. My boy Brian the Legend. I am not the legend, but I hope to be maybe in the future. Actually, my winter formal asking during senior year of college or high school was legend with my last name, replacing the Jun. Legend. How much do you bench? I answered that question, Kevin. I bench like 55 on each side at most. So you completely left finance? Question mark. I guess in the sense that I'm not doing finance work, but I'm always open to future opportunities if I want to come back. Does your little brother annoy you? Not really. I love my brother. Little brother annoys me as much as any little brother annoys people, but we are great. And we're 10 years apart, but we're still relatively tight, I would say, as much as a 10-year apart could be. For those of you joining, I think there's been a bump in numbers. I am answering just questions throughout the chat. I'm really enjoying the variety of questions today. It's not very finance focused, and I'm getting pretty hot topics. I like it. Outside of US, what other country would you like to work in? I'd love to work in the UK or Scotland at some point. I studied abroad in Scotland. It was great. South America's dope. I've always been a fan of South America. And then ultimately, I would want to work in Japan for a bit. And then my homeland of Korea. I hope I have the opportunity to even be there for 2 to 3 months at some point. Do you have any good bake-off stories? Keon, I'm not good enough to bake off anything. I don't think I've ever been in a bake-off or cook-off or anything. I think I participated in a bake-off like in 6th grade at Boy Scouts, but not any good stories from that. How much of IB are theists? Do you mean atheists, or by theists do you mean believers? I have no idea. Most inspiring leader person you've ever worked with? Oh my gosh. Inspiring. I would say my previous CEO at my bank. He was a natural born leader, great speaker. Shout out, Mr. CEO. How did you cope with all those adverse impacts of long hours? I think long hours was fine. It's what the long hours was contextualized around. I think if someone told me to work on something for 14 hours straight and I would be done after those 14 hours, I would have happily done it at that wage. If anything, I probably wouldn't have left banking if that was the case. I think the problem is so much of that 14 hours is built upon waiting around for comments, waiting around for feedback, and time wasted on efforts that ultimately lead to nowhere, and that ultimately gets you. That plays a big effect on your psychology, and it really gets to you after the end of the day, regardless of how much you're getting paid. Does your sect of Christianity take the stories in the Bible literally? Yes, it does, Michael. I'm Presbyterian. Ever thought about starting your own fund? Great question, Mark. Me and a couple of friends are working on something currently, but it is kind of under wraps, and I will reveal it to you guys in due time. But long story short, yes. What should my internship be after sophomore year of college? If you're thinking about banking, probably something finance related, but mine wasn't finance related, and I had no problem getting in banking. Do you have any software engineer friends? Yes. Half my friends are software engineers. Experience with managers, with bosses. Yes, I've always had managers and bosses during my career. I've had a lot of experiences. Best city, state for pizza. Ooh, deep dish is good, but I will say New York pizza is better than Chicago pizza. Sorry, you heard it here, folks. I'm a Chicago native, or I'm a Chicago resident, and I just said New York pizza is better. I'm sorry. You're a Boy Scout? Did you achieve Eagle? I did not. I was a quitter. What do you think about search fund internship? Work is like PE, but afraid not many people know what it is, worth it or not. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but I mean, a fund is a fund, and buy side experience is buy side experience. If that's the only thing on your plate, you should do it. Think he might have met an M&A pitch bake off. Lol. Oh, I thought we were talking about cooking. Um, like a pitch bake off. Pitches are brutal, but it's also the time where the team members are the most teamwork driven. So it's kind of fun in that way because after the pitch, it's just more like analysts go do this, VP go do this, associate go do that. I like teamwork. Brian, what are your tips for a student just graduating with MS in finance, breaking into investment banking, come from a non-target school? I only have one occurrence around my friends who have an MS in finance, and he had a really hard time breaking into banking, and he ultimately didn't. I think MS in finance surprisingly is not as relevant to banking as people think it is. I would recommend an MBA. Launch your own crypto called Legend. Oh, I like that. Legend coin. I don't even know how to launch crypto. That would be dope though. What keeps you going when you're at your best? What your worst? Jameson Lee asking the right questions. What keeps going on when you're your best? I think my vision for the future, my vision for myself. I know that my end goal is clearly not what I'm doing right now, and neither should be for any of you guys. And I know that I'm contributing to my end goal, whatever that is, in some shape or form. And I think I remind myself of that. I also set shorter term benefits. Like I always look forward to the weekend. I look forward to streams. I look forward to consulting sessions. I look forward to making YouTube videos. I know I criticize the side hustle culture, but I set apart treats and gifts that I give myself for working hard. And then at my worst, I think I do the same. And I remind myself that these low points are not necessarily what I'm living for, and everything is temporary. I always think to myself, if this thing is not going to bother me in 6 months, then it shouldn't bother me now. Do you believe in love at first sight? In some ways, I do. I think there are people that you meet. There are definitely people that you grow into, but there's also people that you meet and you instantly know, I'm probably going to be in love with this person. And I've had that before. I'm from Brazil and I really admire you. You're awesome. Oh, Rafael, thank you. Eu falo português pouco. That's all I can say. Obrigado. What are your hobbies right now? Anything you want to get into? So right now my hobbies include speaking in front of a camera, recording myself, speaking in front of a camera. What I really want to get into, I want to stream every day. Like I wish I could do this every day with an audience, which I do, thankfully, but I want to engage in super fun streaming. Literally, this sounds so lame and sad, but my peak in 2021 was when Clubhouse was super peaking in February and everyone was on it. It was so fun. My hobbies include talking and eating. I like music. I like listening to music. Playing guitar is fun. If I had the money to do so, I would love to get into Lego building again. I was a big Lego fan when I was a kid. Do you have any stories of getting roasted in banking? Roasted in banking. My peers are pretty nice. I mean, there were a couple times where I messed up with data stuff and the entire team was kind of mad at me, but I wouldn't say they roasted me. How do people our age date with work responsibilities? I feel like all I do is work. Person Enigma, I agree. My video, guys, I'm dropping this a video on this Saturday. The one video I will promote and say like and share if possible, where I talk about dating in 2021. Everyone is so focused on themselves. I think there's no time to focus on others, which is ironic because we're focusing on ourselves to improve ourselves, partially to get a better partner in the future. But what's the point if you don't have time for that partner? I'm single. That's the reality. How much do grades matter in the USA for jobs in general? Matters a lot because everyone is so high achieving, and sometimes jobs take GPA as a requirement, or sorry, a prerequisite. Oh, there's so many questions. Hey guys, those who are just joining, I'm answering every single question. And if you have any dying questions that for some reason not getting to, feel free to shoot it to the top using super chat. What does success mean to you? All right, Dr. Philosophy. Success is being good at what you want to be good at, which I think most people are not being successful in our day and age because they're doing things that they don't really care about. Opinion on Tony Robbins. No idea who that is. Haha, I'm an Eagle Scout, but I thought about quitting as well. Good for you. What career would you recommend for MS Finance? Gathering my bearings. I don't know many people in MS Finance. You could do a pretty like high level finance job like FP&A or like a strategy role, finance strategy role at like big tech. What keeps you going when you feel lazy and don't want to do any more work? I don't think anything keeps me going when I'm lazy. When I'm lazy, I take breaks. I get lazy a lot. I think these like YouTuber micro influencer people that talk about careers give off this impression that they're like super hardworking and like grind mode 24/7. No one is 24/7 grind mode. Everyone is lazy. No one keeps going. People get tired. Why do you have a high school fire alarm in your room? What is the high school? Is that a high school fire alarm? I think this place used to be a hotel. Wow, people are so observant. Do you like watching scary movies like Conjuring? No, I hate scary movies, and I frankly don't understand why people watch scary movies. Like, what is the point of watching a scary movie? Is the MS in finance valuable? I'll put it this way: I don't know anyone that has an MS in finance that. How do I say this? My short answer is obvious it's valuable because it's a degree, but I don't know anyone in banking that has an MS in finance. Major difference in your life before and after YouTube. I feel like I have something consistent that I can achieve and look forward to. I like having the community. And it's a hobby that I feel like I'm kind of good at, somewhat good at. Brian, can you talk about girls and your approach strategy? Teddy Lockhart. If I had approach strategy, Teddy, I wouldn't be single. I don't really have an approach strategy. Like I just, and I'm not like, I don't know. As you guys can tell, I'm a talkative person. I like talking to both boys and girls. I have friends all over. I have a lot of female friends who I enjoy talking to. I don't think I have an approach strategy. I don't really scheme. I don't DM girls either. I think that's really weird. Like when guys DM girls that they don't know very well, like I don't know what they expect to happen. Like they expect like a magical response where the girl's like, "Oh my gosh, I've been waiting for your DM forever. Let's go on a date." That doesn't happen, guys. Kevin, search funds are good. Oh, Andrew's answering a question for you, Kevin. Do you play any video games? I suck at video games. I used to play League in high school, sucked at it. I play Tetris every now and then. You should post a reaction to your earliest videos. That's a great idea, but it's such a juicing out, like no originality content idea. I hate doing that. I'll probably do it, but we'll see. I need a better webcam for that. Have either your previous company or your current one given you a work phone? Yep. My banking job gave me a work phone. It was kind of fun to have. People be like, "Oh, you have a work phone," and you have like 2 seconds of fame. But outside of that, kind of obnoxious. I hate having email on my phone because you feel like you're accessible 24/7. That is the hardships of 2021. What's your favorite golf club to hit? Probably the hybrid. It just goes so far with such little effort, and you feel good after you hit it. Thoughts on a double major in finance and sales? I don't know you can major in sales, but sure. Sounds like a good combination. What are some of your favorite areas in tech? Ever see yourself moving to SF? I'm not a fan of SF. Favorite areas of tech? Fintech's a cop out answer. Everyone talking about fintech now. I would say like applying tech to non-tech things. So like the metaverse aspect. Tips for not getting overwhelmed in a fast-paced work setting. Slow down and realize that work is not everything. And Everyone is overwhelmed and everyone wants to slow down. So um, take a step back and remind yourself that work is not everything. How are be single? You worked in banking and tech. Um, Keith, I'm assuming you're asking how am I single when I worked in banking and tech? I am single because I worked in banking and tech, probably. 6 years of FP&A and corporate finance. Wow. What should I transition to that's more fun? I heard FP&A is not very fun. Yeah. Maybe get an MBA and transition into something sexier like hedge fund or private equity with FP&A experience. Did you feel anxious about failing in work or studies? I've never felt anxious about work and like failing. I'm a weirdly confident person. Um, I don't think failure was ever a concern. I felt anxiety over the amount of studying and work I had to do, but I don't think it was ever like a failure question. Do CEOs of banks use the same email format? Do you mean nomenclature? I would assume so. Um, my bank did. Recently secured the SA 2222 offer. Awesome. So I'm set to chill for the next 2 years of college. Great. How would you recommend making the most of it given that COVID has distorted the quintessential experience? Dude, just enjoy life. And I think COVID is done. Like, go travel, um, relax. Like, I had that same exact concern. I'd fall of junior year. I got my internship and I was like, damn, I'm done with college. I just had fun. I wish I had more fun. That's my biggest regret. Pick one question: who, what, when, where, why. I will choose who today. Jameson, what type of internships for a college student would you recommend to give you relevant experience to get into investment banking? Anything finance related, anything that shows you can work hard. Um, Banking experience at a smaller firm is great. Nate, Michael B. Michael B asking also great questions. What was the last time you were disrespected? Not counting internet trolls. The utter disrespect. I went to a restaurant and they were saying that they were closing, and then as soon as I left, they opened it for another group of people. And I don't know if that was a mistake, but I felt disrespected in the heat of the moment. Damn, my keyboard hates me tonight. Story of my life, Heathley. My keyboard hates me 24/7, and I make constant typos at work and during chats on Slack. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off in 3 minutes, so squeeze in all your fun questions. This was a very fun session, quite possibly the most fun I've had on these live streams. Very diverse array of questions. Shout out to Michael B. and Jameson and all the others that asked. Very creative, fun questions. Should I do classic finance or quant finance? If you can handle quant finance, why not? You make 3 times the money. Should I do, would you work at a hedge fund? I wouldn't, but if you can, why not? They make tons of money, very cutthroat, but it's great money. How to talk faster. I talk pretty fast now. I'm working on talking slower. I talk way too fast. Probably practice. I think I'm just naturally good at words, but you could definitely practice. Just speak fast and think about the words you're about to say before you say them and then unleash it. Where do you like to be the most? At a restaurant with my bestest friends. Can I get into IB working for a BB commercial bank? Yeah, I've seen people do it actually, quite literally what you speak of, but they achieve pretty high status and then transferred as an associate. Do you use Wall Street Oasis and Wall Street Prep to learn financial modeling? I did not. I used, I actually forget what I used, but someone sent me something. Lay out your perfect day. Okay, perfect day. I like this. I wake up at like 6 or too early. I wake up at 7, get like a nice 2-hour workout in, drink a bunch of water, read for a little bit, then go eat my favorite brunch at Wildberries Cafe, eat a bunch of pancakes, go on a little walk, maybe a quick bike ride, then meet up at some Korean barbecue restaurant, eat a bunch of lunch, then go back home, take a nap, wake right back up, have a beer or two, and then go to a dim sum place, get some dim sum, go back home, relax a little bit, talk, maybe watch a movie, and then go clubbing. I feel like that would be an ideal day. Hedge fund or PE? PE if you are more risk averse and you want more of like a slightly sit back, less cutthroat role. Hedge fund if you like the sexiness of pursuing public markets. Favorite alcoholic beverage? Stout beers or IPAs? Favorite deal you worked on? I probably can't talk about that. I don't know if that's classified. All deals were fun and all deals were also crappy. Do you think Tesla's overvalued? No, but based on nothing. I actually don't own any Tesla personally, but I like Tesla. I'm planning on getting a Cybertruck in December. Very excited. You really do like eating. I love eating, guys. I really love eating. I told you, if someone can guarantee me 3 meals a day, whatever I want to eat, I will do. Like I will quit my job. I will forgo everything. Like if I can eat, I would love to do it. Would you ever live, work overseas? Where, Andrew? I answered that question earlier, but I would love to work in Korea sometime, Japan sometime, and South America sometime. Yeah, guys. So the hour is over. I am going to sign off. My neck hurts a lot. I do these every Wednesday. I have a new video dropping this Saturday, per usual, where I will be talking about relationships and dating in 2021, which is probably far more exciting than me talking about why finance recruiting sucks. But thanks for joining. As always, I really appreciate everyone's creative questions. I appreciate everyone's banking questions, and I will see you guys next time in every shape or form. Peace out, my homes.